And many of you, as you're going through your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, I'm telling you, you're at a place right now in all of your lives where the choices and the decisions that you're making. I mean, I know in this room right now, in here right now, in the freshman class at Jensen Beach, there are doctors and there are scientists. There's some athletes, there's some entertainers, there's some musicians. There's some people that could absolutely do some amazing things in this world, but it's going to take hard work and sacrifice. And see, when I was growing up, I came from a broken family. How many of you want to ask? I ask questions in these assemblies, right? And you all, I need you to raise your hand. How many of you in here, you come from either a divorced or a separated or just a broken family? How many of you guys, right? Like me too. And then let me ask this, and you guys just I need you to be real with me, right? How many of you that come from that broken family, that come from that separated family? How many of you, because see, you can lie to teachers and you can lie to staff and you can lie to friends and parents, you can lie to a lot of people, but every single one of you, when you wake up and you roll out of bed and you look in the mirror and you see you looking back at you, you really know when you're not okay. You really know when you're putting on that fake face and that mask and you're acting like everything's okay, but at the end of the day, it's not. So out of all of us that come from that broken family, how many of you can say at the end of the day that the divorce or the separation or mom or dad not being in your life, it has affected you so far? Raise your hand. Me too, man. You see, I was raised in a family of four. It was mom, dad, sister, and me. And I never saw my mom or my dad argue or fight, and maybe I was just naive, but I thought I had like this cookie-cutter family. But see, the truth of the matter is, my mom and my dad, all of their fights and all of their arguments happened behind closed doors. I never saw them fight, but there was a lot of fights. And they set me down at this table one day when I was in the 7th grade, and they said, "Nathan, I want you to understand something." And they talked to me and my sister, and they told me they're getting divorced, and it rocked my world, man, because I never had seen them fight. And so I felt lied to and betrayed because I thought I had this perfect family. And I began to find out the truth that in the room is where the drugs and the alcohol happened. In the room was where the emotional, social, and mental abuse happened. And as I found out this, I remember looking at my dad and said, "I'm never going to be like you," because I felt so betrayed. But you know what my parents taught me to do real well? They taught me to put on that fake face and to smile and act like everything was okay, but really below the surface of my life. You see, my life, if you took it as a postcard, if you looked at my life like as a snapshot, I had learned by my parents how to act like my life is that picture perfect, right? And that picture of my life could be that shot of the beach with the sun and that magnificent sunset and the ocean's blue and it's beautiful and there's palm. It looked all good on the surface, but below the surface of the water, underneath that water, in the darkness and the depths were predators, and there was darkness and depths that I couldn't see. I wasn't okay on the inside, but I had learned to wear the mask. And a lot of us growing up, especially where you are as a freshman right now, and as this year's coming to a close, we've learned to wear the mask. We've learned to fit in. We've learned to feel the pressure of those around us that we need to act and talk and look a certain way because we don't want to be isolated. We don't want to be singled out. We care about the opinions of the guys and the girls around us, and we want to fit in with that clique or that group of kids. And so a lot of times what we can find ourselves doing if we're not careful is we will compromise who we are. You see, when I was going through middle school, I had good friends, like real best friends. Like a real best friend in your life is somebody who is invested in you. Like they know your dreams, your hurts, your pains, your struggles. They know what's going on. They've been living life with you. And so when things are going good, you're probably the one texting and sending the snaps, you're right. When things are going bad, they know those too. But a real best friend is somebody that's willing to look at you and say, "I'm willing to help you at all costs get to the next level." Like if you want to play ball, if you want to go and be a doctor, if you want to go and be a teacher or a social worker, if you want to be an actor or an entertainer, like I believe in you so much because I'm your best friend. I'm going to push you when you want to stop because I want to see you successful, man. That's a real best friend. And I had those in middle school, but when I went to high school, the problem was I felt the pressure of wanting to fit in because my sister was 4 years older than me. And so when I was an 8th grader, she was a senior, and I watched her go through high school, all through middle school. When I was in middle school, she went through high school. And when I got to high school, I wanted to live up to the expectations. And so I had good friends, but as I went through my freshman year, I was getting straight A's. I'm from Indiana, so in the school in Indiana that I'm from, it was a big school kind of like this, 2,000 students. And I went through my freshman year, and I was in the AP and Excel classes, and I was getting good grades, and And they actually voted at the end of my freshman year that I was probably going to be one of the most successful freshmen in the class because everyone knew that I was driven. I was after trying to be successful. Like I wanted to prove to my parents that I didn't need them. But really I was wearing a mask. And at the end of my freshman year, I kind of turned around and I looked at my life. And I said, I got 3 years of school left, probably right where a lot of you are right now. And actually, it was right now in this season where all of you are is when I made a choice and a decision. As my freshman year came to a close, I looked at my friends, I looked at my school, and I said, man, I could keep Jared and Jordan in my life. I could keep those good friends in my life. But really, they were strange. They were different. They dressed a little funny. They were kind of getting singled out as being those weird kids at the school. And if I kept kicking it with them, man, I was going to get labeled like them. So I made a choice to cut away from them. I made one of the worst mistakes I made. I got away from good friends that cared about me, that truly believed in me, to find friends that I could fit in, that would give me the image that I wanted you to see me like. See, so I found some new friends, man. I found these friends that they really weren't invested in me. They were juniors and seniors, and they were older than me my sophomore year, and I started running around with them. They were the popular kids that everybody wanted to be like, and they kind of ran the school, and so I was a part of that circle. But the problem is they didn't know me, and they kind of they brought me into the circle, right? But they made fun of me, and they were verbally abusive, and the verbal abuse became physical abuse. They gave me 2 nicknames, and the 2 nicknames they gave me, the first one they gave me was the name Bacon. And the reason they gave me the nickname Bacon is because, see, I'm 5'7"-ish. More like 5'6". I'm close. 5'7" that sounds better. But I've been this tall since I was a sophomore. Since I was a 7th grader, sorry. I've been this tall since I was a 7th grader. And, but I was 70 pounds heavier than what I am. See, I'm still 5'7"-ish right now. I haven't grown nothing since 7th grade. But I was 60, 70 pounds heavier. And these new friends, they gave me the nickname Bacon because they said I was fat like a pig, and it hurt, man. And they gave me another nickname, Nasty Nate. And the reason they gave me that name is because, well, I didn't come from money, really. And my mama, we were that broken family. My mama did the best that she could, but my clothes were never brand new. They were never designer or anything. A lot of my clothes were hand-me-downs from my uncles and my cousins. My clothes were from the Goodwills and the clearance aisles. I didn't get nice things in my backpack, and my school supplies weren't nice either. They were hand-me-downs from my sister. And when it was time for me to kind of hang out with them, it was time for me to get my license. In the car that I got, my mom did the best that she could, but my vehicle was kind of an old, rusted-out Blazer, and it would get me to and from the school, but it wasn't anything to look at. And these new friends, they just said, all your stuff's nasty, bro. And they picked on me, and it was verbal, and they beat me down. But see, I was so consumed and concerned about what you thought of me. I was willing to stay around people who didn't really care about me because I wanted to maintain an image. I wanted to fit in. And the words they were saying were like arrows and darts getting shot into my chest. And there was some battles and thoughts of giving up and suicidal thoughts. And I started self-harming, and my self-esteem and my self-worth went out the window. And those new friends, they also started talking about, why don't you go here and smoke this and drink this and do that. And at the end of the day, I started to compromise in what I really stood for, because you know what? I remember telling my dad, I was never touching that stuff because I didn't need it and I wanted to prove to them. But really, I cared more about the opinions of everybody else, and everybody else was doing it. So what's the big deal to smoke a little or to drink a little or pop a pill a little? And I'm sure some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. But see, even though it may seem like it's not a big deal right now, and it seems innocent and it seems harmless, drugs and alcohol and popping pills and doing all these things, they're kind of like a cute little bear cub when you first start, right? See, I could smoke some weed and I could skip school when I was a sophomore, and I could go out to the country and burn a blunt and come back and throw on some Visine and throw on some Febreze and sneak in with the kids, and nobody knew that I was smoking. Or I could drink a little and I could still get good grades, and I could hide it from my parents, and I could hide it from my teachers. And how many of you, let me just ask, how many of my freshmen in here do you know, freshmen in your class, How many of you know other freshmen that sometimes, not you, but you just know somebody, right? How many of you know somebody who sometimes smokes some weed right now, right? Raise your hand. Yeah, right? How many of you freshmen, right? Not you, but maybe you just know somebody that sometimes drinks a little, right? Raise your hand. How many of my freshmen do you know other freshmen in here that sometimes pops a pill every once in a while? How many of us, right? How about some of my freshmen, not you, but you just know somebody in here that sometimes maybe messes around with cocaine or heroin? How about that one, right? See, we all are being exposed to what seems like it's a party and it's a fun. We're just living life and trying to have fun, man. But I'm telling you, drugs and alcohol, when it first starts, it seems innocent, but it's like a bear cub, because when you start to feed the bear, even though a little bear cub's cute and cuddly, listen, I just got to go to California, and I was in San Diego, and I went to the zoo, and dude, they had panda bears. And they had a baby bear cub, panda bear. I don't care how tough you think you are, and how much of you think you're a tough guy or whatever. You get in front of a panda bear cub, dude, you're going to give me I want a selfie of this thing. Hey, honey, and my wife, give me. No, erase that, because dudes, I'm telling you, every one of you guys in here, you get in front of a panda bear cub, you're going to melt like butter. It's cute. Grizzly bear, big, can kill you. But the bear cub, innocent. You want to play with it. But as you feed the bear's going to grow. I want you to understand something. When I finished my freshman year, everyone expected me to be the most successful. But my sophomore year, when I started feeding the bear, my life kind of fell apart a little bit. That's me, my senior year right here. Actually, it's me right after my senior year. I started feeding the bear, but the bear began to consume me. The bear began to devour me. And I got so caught up in drugs and alcohol, and it seemed so innocent, but straight A's went to straight F's, and all of my dreams and my goals to be successful, I kind of gave those up because I didn't care anymore. I found myself skipping school my senior year 60 times. Don't even know how that's possible. How could I skip school 60 times my senior year and not be expelled? But I figured it out. I manipulated, I slipped, I slid, I broke a lot of these little contracts about attendance. And eventually they kicked me out. So here I am at 18 years old, 19 years old, looking like that. That's me today. That's me today right there at 32. But see, drugs and alcohol began to consume my life. And I began to give up on all of my dreams and my choices. And see, the truth of the matter is, where all of this really ended up going, by the time I was 23, when I should have been a senior just graduating college, 23, I should have just graduated college at 23. Maybe getting ready to begin my second 4 years to get my master's. Maybe getting ready to buy my first home and have a family and chase down my dreams. At 23, dude, I was living in my hometown in Indiana, looking something like that over there, just strung out, stealing, thievery, doing all kinds of stuff because the bear had grown up, and that bear was ready to kill me. And it was devouring me. They tell you when you go to like the national parks in like Tennessee, the Smoky Mountains, not to feed the bear. Why should you not feed the bears? Because if you feed the bear looks like you're a food source. And if you don't always have food to feed it, eventually it will come and try to take you out. And I'm telling you, I know it sounds simple and kind of childish, but drugs and alcohol right now, it seems real innocent and we're just having a good time. I know why you're thinking it, but I'm promising you, I never expected when I started feeding the bear that was going to happen in my life, man. Because choices and decisions that you and I make will always impact us, good or bad. And sometimes we get so caught up of wanting to fit in with everybody around us, we will find ourselves getting into places and getting into situations that we really don't want to be. I remember July 17, 2009, when I was 23, when I should have been graduating and beginning my career of college and all of that. It was July 17th, and it was a Friday night, and me and my buddies were still kicking it, and we were drinking, and I went and bought a bottle of alcohol and went to this party, and me and my buddies split this fifth of Crown, and then we went off into the bar, and I had 10 shots of tequila, and I was lit up, man, and I was just hammered. And it was time for this after party, right? And they said, Nathan, the bar's about to close and we're going to go to so-and-so's house. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I said, well, they said, well, you know, TJ, that's where it's going to be at. Why don't you leave a little bit early and go to his house and get the house ready and we'll be there. And I said, cool. So I get on the phone and I call my designated driver. I call Priscilla. She's coming to pick me up. She's my DD. She had just moved from Alabama to Indiana area, and she had became a friend of a group of us, right? And so I called and I said, Priscilla, we're going to go to TJ's house. You're not here. I can't drive. I need a DD. I'm going early. Will you come? And she shows up. And when she shows up, I remember it was time for me to go, and I go to the bartender and I buy this case of Bud Light beer bottles. And when I turn around, my buddy stops me. When my buddy stops me, he says, Nathan, you're not driving. I said, no, man, she is. She's my DD. Don't worry. I got this. I'll see you at the party. Cool. We shook up and I was out the door. And I don't know how or why or when, but in the process of leaving the bar and getting to the car and the chaos and the confusion of the people coming and going, it's the hundreds that were in and out of the bar. When I got to her car, I put that beer in the back passenger seat. But for some reason, Priscilla gave me her keys. And when she gave me those keys, I walked around and I got into the driver's seat and I belted up and we took off. And when we took off, as we got to TJ's house and we were getting close, I remember like it was yesterday. You see, we all have these things called moments of impact. And a moment of impact is simply when something impacts you so greatly, something good or bad that happens in your life, that it's like you remember the details. You remember the people that were around you, the conversations that were said precisely, the clothes that were on your back. Because that situation happened, it just impacted you, and you remember just vividly the little details in your life. Many of you, I bet you right now, if you think about your past growing up, you can think about something that you could call a moment of impact in your life. Well, I remember, just like it was yesterday as we were getting to that house, Priscilla's words I remember the words she says, it echoes, and I can close my eyes and I can look to my right. And it simply was this word as we were getting there, and I remember it. I can see it flashing, and it was just this, tree! And then it was dead quiet. I was in a helicopter. I was in a hospital bed. Police officers over top of me. They asked me questions about who she was because they couldn't identify her. Because, see, her cell phone was locked, and her purse didn't have her ID in it, and they didn't know who she was. So she was fighting for her life, and nobody knew of her family. And so when I woke up, I told them her name, and they let the family know, and for some reason, they let me go home. They didn't arrest me right then and there. I don't know if it was because they were trying to figure out what was happening with Priscilla, but they didn't arrest me, and they let me leave, and they said, we'll be in contact with you. And I remember when I got into the car with my mama, she looked at me, and I just looked at her, and I thought back of all the times that I was in school growing up, and speakers and administrators and teachers and friends and family would try to talk to me about my choices and the path that I was going down after my freshman year, because I started making some very unhealthy decisions for my future. And I remember so many of those little conversations that I was like, man, how did I get in this seat next to my mom? With the fact that there's a woman fighting for her life. When after my freshman year, I was supposed to be one of the most successful students in that school of 2000. Choices. And my mom said, Nathan, I need to talk to you because your life's about to change. You see, my sister, she was a nurse, and when the accident happened, she got a phone call. And so she went to the hospital, and she was able to see the paramedics report. She was able to see the police report. And it said when the paramedics arrived on scene, they radioed in and they only reported one person in the vehicle, slouched over the steering wheel. And the police report said on the amount of impact and how much the car had been caved in, that the vehicle must have been going 60 to 63 miles an hour, and there was no brake marks, no signs of me trying to stop. I just hit a tree at a high rate of speed, boom. And when I hit that tree, my hands were on the steering wheel. When I hit it, it shattered the steering wheel and it knocked me unconscious. And when I hit that steering wheel, my foot was on the gas pedal, and upon impact, it shattered my ankle. And when I hit that tree, the case of beer bottles, they flew forward like a rocket. And Priscilla, well, she was in the front passenger seat and she didn't put on her belt. And she flew forward, and that case of beer bottles and Priscilla flew in the air. And they met perfectly at the same time when they hit the front windshield. And she fell and slid like a rag doll to the floorboard, and her neck rested on the center console. And my mom looked at me and said, "Nathan, your life's about to change." And when she said that, right, all I could think about was, no, man, I'm 23. I remember people talking, but see, whenever I would hear these kind of talks, I always thought about some old guy, just being real, some old dude that was an old drunk that was in an accident. Never did I imagine it could happen to me as a young man. And when she told me that, right, I remember I read the paper that morning because the paper read the story, 2 Lifeline to Parkview Hospital fighting for their life. And I tried calling the hospital to see if she alive, and she did. I called the police. Nobody was telling me. So I decided that I was going to stay up and wait all night for the paper. And the paper came, and there it was, the headlines. And when I saw the headline, it just said this. It said, "Crash victim dies." And at 23, I killed her. And when I started the assembly, right, probably you would have never guessed by the look at me that maybe I've battled suicidal attempts and I've had a rope around my throat, or that I can count the scars on my hand from when I battled self-harm in high school, or how drugs and alcohol, from weed to cocaine to pills to synthetic heroin, you name it, alcohol had consumed me, or that at 23 this was going to happen. But I promise you, if I would have known when I was just turning 16, becoming a sophomore, that feeding the bear that seemed so innocent and harmless, like it was no big deal, I was just kicking it with my guys and having a beer and smoking a little weed, like it wasn't, what's it going to really hurt? If I would have known the reality that possibly this could happen, I never would have started, man, because it's not worth it. And a lot of you right now, and like I said, we're down to like 15 minutes, and we don't have a lot of time for this assembly. It's kind of restricted on my time here. A lot of you right now, the school year's coming to a close, and you have 3 years after this year left of high school, and then it's off to college if some of you want to go to college, and then you're living life, right? And see, your world's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you've got so many choices and decisions like right now that you can make, man. Like right now, you have the ability to really, whatever your dream is, for you to start working hard at it right now. I got sentenced to 15 years in prison when I was 23 years old, and long story short of that, the family forgave me. It wrecked my life. I decided to change. I ended up only doing 4 years because I changed my life and started making good choices and good decisions. And I've been home for the last 6 years, and I travel, and I'm a speaker, and I travel over the country speaking in schools about dreams and goals and overcoming obstacles. But I'll tell you, don't think that you can make the choices that I did and think that, well, Nathan, the outcome seems to be okay. Like you lived it up in high school, and look, you're doing pretty well for yourself right now. Because I'm telling you, you don't know what it's like to have to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and to know that I'm responsible of taking her life. She was a mother of a little boy and a little girl. She was a real person with a real heartbeat, and choices that I made when I was a young man to feed the bear impacted a whole family and others, and you don't want that. I'm telling you right now, many of you are in a position and a place to do some amazing things, and you have 3 years at this school at Jensen, man. And I want you to understand something. I know some of you probably feel broken, and maybe some of you feel like you've been labeled and marked, and you've already made too many choices and mistakes in your grades. You've already got off on the wrong track, and it's easier just to be you because everybody already thinks that, you know, can you really change? And I get all of that. And maybe your home's not the greatest and you feel like you never had a shot. But I'm telling you, choices and decisions matter. And no matter how bad it may seem, you have plenty of time in this next 3 years to begin to really watch your life radically change and start making good choices and watch your dreams come alive, man. But it's going to take blood, sweat, and tears. It's going to take sacrifice. Listen, right now in Jensen, you're a family. You have 3 more years at this school. Like it, love it, or leave it, those next to you, to your left and to your right, they are family to you. And you should want and hope to see those around you be successful. You should want and hope to see those around you really, when we get to college, go to the next level, man. Like, don't take for granted where you're at right now. Like, this is a very sobering moment for every one of you. Like, you're in this auditorium, a dude with the buns in front of you from Indiana, right here talking to you. And I've got the opportunity to speak to literally so many young men and women to see dreams and lives come alive, but also see dreams and lives be wasted because you didn't realize your potential. Look to the person to your left and to your right now. I want you to understand something as we closing, we get ready to end this thing out today. The people in this room, in this school, matter. How many of you, and I want you just to raise your hand when I ask this question. How many of you currently this school year, you heard somebody in this school, you heard somebody, not you, but you just heard or you seen somebody in your school this year contemplating and talking about the idea of maybe committing suicide? Raise your hand. Hold them high. Okay. Hold those hands high right now. All of you look around and see those hands that are raised. They're everywhere. I can see it from up here. I literally see probably 75 hands raised out of probably 300 of you. Put your hands down. When those people that you look to your left and to your right, that means one person to your left or to your right represented somebody possibly in this room that's been thinking about giving up. You guys are going to make this school. You guys are going to be the biggest encouragement to each other. And I understand from Indiana, when some of those things that have happened here in this area, like Parkland, and some of those situations that have just kind of rattled us to the core, I want you to understand something. That you, to your left and to your right and to your front and to your back, and this community and this school, you've got to have each other's backs. When you start to see something, you need to say something. When you see situations that you know don't seem right, you need to speak up and not just minimalize it and be afraid of speaking up, because who cares what people think? It's better to speak up because you in here together are working together to keep us as a community safe. The most powerful weapon that this school has to stay safe is you and your voice and willing to speak up when you see something, you say something. I'm serious, man. Not only when it comes to the dangers of the violence or the dangers of the struggles of what's just happened that's drastically impacted this community, man. But to the young men and to your brothers and to your sisters that are struggling with giving up of suicidal thoughts and self-harming, like, listen, you're together at the school, and I'm beyond thankful just to be here to get to live life with y'all, because I know what's in here is my freshman class right now, literally are doctors doctors and scientists and teachers and engineers and social workers and young people and young men and young women that are destined to impact this world. But it's going to take you taking ownership, because don't just throw away this moment that you have because you want to get caught up and feed the bear. You want to get caught up and maintain the images and fit in because you don't feel like you want to speak up or say something because who cares, man? This is your life, this is your school, and this is your community. I'm privileged to get to live life with you all in here. And I've got to speak to the sophomores, the juniors, the seniors, and now you. You know, I'm telling you what, dreams and goals are real, and they're for all of you to achieve. And I'm seeing eyes, and I see the leaders in here, and I see some of the gears turning. I got released 11 years early. In the last 6 years, I've been traveling, speaking to schools, and I didn't know how to start becoming a speaker. But you know what I learned? And I want all of you, honestly, these next 3 years, if you could apply one thing to your thoughts, is take the words "I can't" and "I don't know how" just out of your vocabulary. Because I didn't know how to do any of the things that I wanted to do, like travel and speak, but I refused to make excuses, and I went after it. I refuse to lose. Winning's all I know, and I don't wait for people just to hand me anything. I go get it by hard work. And that's for every one of you. I don't know. What's your name, man? You. Yeah, what's your name?
Jeremiah.
Dude, you're a leader, bro. The entire assembly that I've been watching this, you're a leader. And so listen to me. And sometimes you don't speak up and use your voice, but you influence people around you and you know it. And there's dreams and goals in front of you, man, that you absolutely can achieve. A bunch of your friends in the circle. But it's going to take hard work and sacrifice. It's going to take you rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty and saying, I'm after it. And I don't have time to get caught up with all the distractions. You're a leader, bro. Listen, guys, I've got like 3 minutes. And I hope that I get the opportunity to see you guys again next year for a longer assembly. We're working on coming back to this area next year. But as this school year ends, and I got a parent-student night tonight where I'm talking again at 6:30, and maybe you don't have anything going, and you can come back and hear some more of this talk tonight, man. But I promise you, in this room is a family of Jensen Beach Falcons, right? You're Falcons, aren't you? And you've probably heard some of those cliche sayings. But I would just dare some of you to fly high. Be above, and don't settle for less than what you're called to be.